Thanks again for joining us. My name is Mark Becker. I'm the founding partner of Cathexis Partners. We've been doing this now for coming up on 13 years, and we've worked with thousands of nonprofits on lots and lots of projects, and our team is a virtual team all across the United States, and we support organizations actually worldwide, mainly in North America though, and we keep our costs low by being virtual. We were virtual before it was cool. So, we helps keep costs down and also make sure that we get the right talent to wherever they happen to be at. So if you ever need any assistance with any fundraising technology, that's really any end-to-end. If we don't do it, we know someone who does. So feel free to reach out. Again, if you have the session is being recorded, hopefully, if I did this right. And if you have any questions along the way, everybody probably knows how to use Zoom by this time. Feel free to drop those questions in the Q&A, and I'm happy to address those. Again, this shouldn't be a full hour. It should be relatively quick. Just want to talk about some different tips and different ideas that you may or may not be doing at your organization that will help, and they are platform agnostic. In most cases, you can implement these in just about any platform, and if you can't, then you should probably find one that you can. I know that's sometimes much easier said than done, but again, if you need any help with that, that's what we're here for. But these are intended to be kind of platform agnostic options, and there's definitely more than one way to implement some of these. So let's go ahead and dive in. So to start with, ask donors to cover the transaction fees, right? This is becoming more and more popular. Some organizations have been doing this for quite a while. Others are just starting to get into it, but it's really popular. It's like rounding off your tip to donate to somebody when you go out to eat or something like that. Think of it in those manners. More often than not, people will do that, and that just allows you to raise that much more funds. So basically just having a checkbox that says, I'd like to cover the fees associated with my donation, so that 100% of the gift goes directly to, in this case, Atlanta Community Food Bank, right? Another example is with the National Kidney Foundation, where they put in here, just did the math for you. They didn't necessarily disclose the percentage, but you can work the math out. I have a $250 donation here. Please charge me $256.42 to cover the processing fees. So another way to represent that, and just really straightforward to set up. Let me give you one more example. Here's Arizona Humane Society. We helped set this up on their donation form, and they put it in. They actually said add 3% to the total to cover transaction fees, and then when you go through to the final review step, it shows the total there. So it's not about trying to, obviously, falsify or hide anything. You're being very upfront and transparent about the total cost, but just that extra ask. In this case, Arizona Humane Society brought in an additional $2,000 within 3 months of us adding this to their form that they wouldn't have received otherwise. Basically threw $2,000 just in that checkbox. I think it was right before the end of the year. Or a specific campaign, and they were really successful and obviously very, very happy with the outcome, and are still using that today. So very helpful. In fact, some stats around this. Blackbaud, there's an article that they have out on MP Engage. They did a little bit of research, and they found, even breaking this down even further, so you have the checkbox there, right? Go ahead and cover the transaction fees or the service fees. But the question is, okay, do I check it by default or uncheck it? You're not trying to, trick anybody. You want to make it very obvious. But and you might have different legal reasons to choose one or the other, or just different thought process behind why you would have it checked by default or unchecked by default. But just interesting to know that they did some research and found that 40% of donors will include the fee if you leave it unchecked. So that means they're going out of their way to uncheck that box, to check that box. And 40%, nearly half, went ahead and checked it. If you check it by default, again, making sure it's very obvious and apparent to everybody that that would be an additional charge, check it by default, 70% leave it checked. I think that's really interesting and very helpful. And again, that's just extra funds raised, right? And that's always a good idea. So that's tip number one. Number two, add a monthly giving pop-up to your donation process. And that can mean a lot of things. It doesn't have to be a pop-up. But in this case, here's an example where someone went to give $100 and they hit the process button, and it just pops up a window that says, hey, thank you so much for your support. Have you considered maybe changing this one-time gift to a monthly gift instead, and making it, instead of just saying, we want $100 a month since that's how much you're going to give, changing it to $10 a month. And, people are used to subscriptions these days, and they might actually go, okay, yeah, I can definitely do that. If I can pay for Netflix, I can donate $10 a month to a charity I really believe in their mission. So I think that's a great idea. Research suggests that monthly donors give 3 times more than one-time donors. Obviously, that's kind of the goal. Moving people up the engagement ladder is getting them from one-time to recurring donors. So that's one way to basically just prompt them, and it's not a huge hindrance. It's a simple click. No, thanks. I'll process the one-time gift, but just makes them think about that. So maybe they'll do it next time. Another example is Atlanta Community Food Bank. Instead of a pop-up, they just have it actually on their donation form, kind of a toggle switch between one-time and monthly. And in the monthly, they kind of put a call-out arrow on there that's there by default. You can even have it show up or hover over at some point, pop up. But this one is actually just designed right into the form. Giving monthly is the most effective way to help feed kids and families year-round. Hey, let me go ahead and switch it up to monthly. A lot of different ways I've seen it engaged where you can try to move people towards the monthly giving instead of one time, right? All right. Let's move on to number 3. Review sustained gift expiration dates. Okay, so you get these sustained givers, right? We've gotten them that far. Awesome, they're in the door. Inertia means that they're probably going to stick with it and keep on donating. Even if they forget about it, hopefully they just let it run because inertia will keep going. Or hopefully, and more importantly, they have a affiliate, affinity to your brand and your mission and want to keep on donating. But one thing that can get in the way of that is the credit card expiration date, right? There are services, merchant services that and add-on services that you can get that can basically update those. There's usually a fee associated with them, or maybe just a higher overall monthly transaction fee or per transaction fee. If it's built into there, that's sub tip number 4 in here. So you may or may not be interested in paying for that service if it's not built in or baked into your recurring gift processing service. But at the very least, set up a monthly email campaign where you can hopefully report on whose credit cards are expiring in the next 60 or 90 days, and send them an email, like a little drip campaign, right? Almost like a reverse welcome series. Sending them an email every few weeks until they update that expiration date. Or if you start at 3 months out, once a month to remind them to update their credit card information. And then have a portal. Hopefully, your merchant service, your payment processor allows some type of constituent portal where they can log in and update their own information. So, kind of tips 1 through 4 kind of go from the least technical to the most platform dependent. So, some version of that. Make sure you're thinking about once you get these sustainers in, you keep them, right? And the best way to do that is just make sure the credit card is updated, and hopefully it'll just keep on churning along. I'm burning through these kind of quick. I told you it's going to be a fast one. Number 4, offer versatile payment options, right? Credit card, sure. ACH, yep. Bank transfer, you bet. But what about Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, cryptocurrency? I'll talk more about that in a second. But more is better, right? Go to people, make it wherever they're familiar, wherever they're happy with, whatever they feel the most secure with donating to you. Make sure that that's available as much as possible through your website. There are still plenty of websites, organizations that we support that when we first start engaging with them, all they have is a PayPal option. And you click on those, and normally those are pretty ugly looking payment forms that don't even match their branding. It might have their little logo at the top, but the PayPal logo is probably just as big, if not bigger. And so, PayPal should be a payment option, but it should not be the payment processor or the way you're the primary means of paying, having people support you, because you're probably going to lose your branding and a lot more. But again, there's just a lot of different ways that people can pay these days, and a lot of these merchant services and payment services are introducing these as options. Also, be very aware of what your fees are associated with that, right? I mean, the main thing is you want to receive those transactions, receive those donations, but be aware of what the fees are going to cost you based on who you're using. Speaking of cryptocurrency, can't say enough good things about the folks over at the Giving Block. They know cryptocurrency very well. If you aren't currently involved and don't have a link to have people support you and donate cryptocurrency to you, I suggest you check it out. And I would say that these are the industry-leading experts in this space. They understand cryptocurrency. They have a lot of connections in the cryptocurrency environment, the community, and definitely know how to process it. There's a lot of great tax benefits for folks to donate to you their cryptocurrency, but also for you to receive it. But there's some kind of nuances with how long you hold on to it or how much it might change in value that could affect taxes as well. So they have ways of dealing with that. All legit. They just know how things work, and they know they can process and transfer that cryptocurrency to actual bank deposit really quickly. And really minimize the amount of potential gain or loss, and truly get the true currency expected. So definitely work on considering cryptocurrency as an option. Embed matching gift tools into your donation form or donation process. A lot of companies will offer up matching gift programs. So if you're an employee of one of these organizations, Google, for example, they match donations that their employees make to qualifying nonprofits, and can help basically either match it or to a certain level, basically doubling potentially your funds raised. There's different, you can kind of go after this process yourself, but each company is different, and how their process is to submit that paperwork is unique for each of them. So you have to be very careful, if you're going to get into tracking all that down yourself. But the good news is that companies like Double the Donation and HEP Data have simplified a lot of this process. They've gone out to these companies, they've gotten their policies, they know who's in these programs, especially in the United States, and can basically have a lookup field that just reminds people as they're donating. In fact, let me go to the next slide. It can be embedded right into your donation form. Here's an example. See if your company will match your donation, and you just start typing in the name of the company. In this case, I started typing Google, and it automatically does this little search, and will pull up a type-ahead search for different organizations. And then once it processes, it'll automatically kick off the process, and you have this whole dashboard you can look at that helps you with the paperwork to process to get the donation. There is work involved still, but folks like, and this is the example on Double Donation, just make it as simple as it can be to make that happen. All right. Let me take a pause here, drink of water. Number 6, employee donor data enrichment or well screening, right? This can be really intimidating for a lot of small or medium or even large organizations. I've been doing more and more research into, and we work with different partners in this space, and it can be a lot of things to a lot of people. But I kind of break data enrichment or propensity to give type tools into two kind of pieces. There's the science, and then there's the art, right? The science is they all pretty much get data from a lot of the same 8 or 9 sources. It all depends, again, on which ones they're using, but for the most part, they're pulling from a variety of different available databases to gather information about homes owned. If you have a yacht, that comes from the Coast Guard. How many garages you have in your house, annual income, and most relevant is donations to organizations. And that's that's by them going through and actually weeding through a bunch of annual reports every year from organizations that list their big donors. So there's a wealth of information that they have at their fingertips, and then they can bring and compare your constituents and basically add either scoring or add additional information to them, and even categorize them or put them into buckets. For example, this screenshot is from Boodle AI. They have different ways that they look at it, but one of them is, your big spenders, your high affinity, who has given to organizations, your organization before, or organizations like you yet, but haven't given to you yet. And then your most generous, who's given the biggest donations in general. So there's a lot of different, and that's just one little slice of the pie. But no, there's a lot of different ways that you can look and use data enrichment tools. It's beyond just, who makes a lot of money. It goes into really what you're looking for is a propensity to give to your donation, right? And maybe they haven't yet. Obviously, if they're already a major donor to your organization, they're already on your radar. But who else is in your database, or should you know that that is out there and would probably give to your organization, or has a likelihood to give to your organization, and is worth your major gifts team reaching out to. So these platforms, there's a variety. On the high end, they have data syncs in real time to your CRMs. Maybe you're on Razor's Edge, or maybe you're on Salesforce or Virtuous or Neon, whatever it might be. They have a lot of integrations with these different CRMs, and it can be real-time pulls, and you can flag which ones you want, or you can just do them one-offs if they're real-time synced with your database and look up individuals as you come across them, or you can do major data pushes and pulls and run them through there. Anybody that you think might be a good fit. So definitely doesn't have to be a big spend to really enrich what you know about your constituents. All right, last but not least, Google grants, right? Google gives out $10,000 per month of in-kind Google ads in a promotion, so that's great. There's very few organizations that we work with that actually use all of it. There's few that use way more than that even, but it's a great item to take advantage of if you haven't already, but you do have to maintain a certain level of click-throughs and et cetera to make sure you maintain it. So normally it's like free, like a puppy, right? You get this up to 10,000 free ads, but then you have to configure it and set it up, and make sure you're really maintaining it and have the right keywords and have the right phrases in there so that people are clicking through. But there are services offered. Our team offers them. There's other partners that we work with that offer these services as well. Definitely worth looking at. For the 10,000 grant, I'm sure either you, if you have somebody internally, can spend some certain number of hours per month towards this to take advantage of it, or you can spend less than a tenth of that per month, and really maintain a good amount of new constituent reach by taking advantage of this and reaching out to an expert. We did do a guide. There's plenty of other resources out there. Here's one that we've put together on Google Grants that shares a little bit about him. Definitely take advantage of that. Have a look at it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I am blowing through this today. Sorry, guys. Everybody on the call, this is, talking into the void, one voice. It's not always, I'd much rather have a discussion. So look forward to seeing everybody out in the real world in person in future conferences. But let me move on. Finally, did want to point out that our free virtual conference, it's a peer-to-peer world, and that's peertopeerworld.com, is coming up. It's going to be 5 Fridays in a row starting in September, and we decided this is our 5th year of doing it, and we usually just had a one-day conference, but it's been so popular we decided to make it bigger, and instead of just killing everybody's week, we decided to make it 5 Fridays in a row. So you can, if you're into peer-to-peer fundraising, definitely check it out. It's free to register. Pre-registration's available now. We're going to be opening up registration in the next week or so, but definitely check it out. Looking forward to that virtual conference as well. And that is all I have for you. Quick tips, 7 quick tips to really help make you think about what you might be doing or what you might be able to include into your arsenal to help you raise more funds. All right. Any questions? Definitely feel free to stay on. Happy to chat through them. But otherwise, feel free to reach out to me. And thanks, everybody. Have a great day.